Hello, my Debauchery friends, and welcome to a very unique experience. One of the greatest things I've ever done to expand my knowledge of cigars and my palate is the Aganorsa Fuma Experience. It's an incredible experience that Terence Riley does, and it just really opened my world to getting more flavor out of your cigar and in the whole world of blending, and you get a lot out of it. So we decided, why not bring that to the people? Like normally Terence goes around the country doing these events in person, but there's only one Terence. So we decided to approach Terence and ask, hey, what if we put together a pack and send it to people so way more people can experience this? And here we are. So you can go to Republic of Cigars. I don't know if I could say that. And find the Aganorsa Fuma Experience pack. In this pack, you're gonna get 2 Cerberus Guardian of the Farm cigars and 3 of these individual tobacco leaves that make up the contents of the cigar, known as fumas. And here we have Terence Riley to walk us through this whole experience. Hey Terence, how's it going?
Oh, just living the dream. It's the greatest day of our lives and we're sharing it together. Who would have thought?
So, explain to us exactly what a fuma is.
So a fuma is an individual leaf of tobacco. It's like one component. So it's like when you're baking, you have sugar and you have butter and you have egg and all these things. This is like the sugar or the butter. It adds one particular component to the blend. So by breaking them down, what we're doing basically is seeing how each of the ingredients in the cigar blend contribute to the overall flavor and how they combine to create that signature flavor that the ultimate cigar has.
Fantastic. And what can people expect to get out of this experience? What do people tell you the most after you do this event?
It really opens up people's minds to how combining different tobaccos really makes a difference. There's always a sense of like how much of this is marketing and how much of these flavors are all just made up stuff that they're trying to convince us of. But when you do this Fuma experience, you really pick up their palpable notes and you really start to learn that how you create a blend is really important. And you can't just throw tobaccos together and hope it works out. You really have to be selective in the tobaccos you combine with one another, not only in terms of the individual characteristics they have themselves, but also how they combine with others.
Wow, that sounds pretty exciting. I've already done it, so I kind of know what to expect. But let's relive this with the audience.
Absolutely. Let's go. Let's do it.
Where are we starting?
So you have 3 here, and the first one you want to grab is the Corojo 99.
All right.
You have 2. You have 299.
I have 299s. I stole one of yours?
Yeah.
All right.
Want to do that again?
No, that's fine. The fuck ups are funny.
All right. So the first one you want to grab is called C99, which stands for Corojo 99. Corojo 99 is a varietal that we're the only major growers of it in Nicaragua. And why? Because of the flavor and aroma. And you'd say, well, why else would you grow the tobacco? But flavor and aroma is only one component of why somebody grows anything, whether it's tobacco or tomatoes or anything. If you go to the grocery store, those aren't the most flavorful tomatoes necessarily. They don't bruise too easy, they don't ripen too fast. So when they ship them across the country, it's more profitable. And so the same thing goes into tobacco. Some tobaccos yield more per acre. Some tobaccos are more disease resistant. Some tobaccos ferment faster or burn better. There's all sorts of different factors that you're considering because it's a business. But we love the flavor and aroma of this so much that even though we could grow something else and make more money, we feel that this is worth the sacrifice because it's so distinctive.
So do you get a little bit less yield from this, or is it just more difficult to grow?
Yeah, less yield, and also you lose more as time goes on. So it's more disease. It's less disease resistant than other tobaccos, so you lose some because of that. It just in general doesn't have a high of yield as other tobaccos, and then through the fermentation process a little tricky. So there's a lot of reasons not to grow it from a profitability perspective, but from a flavor perspective. It's a delicious tobacco, and we feel that it's really special and provides a signature component to our flavor.
All right, so this is the Corojo 99.
Corojo 99, and it's grown in Jalapa Valley. So Jalapa Valley is in northern Nicaragua, borders Honduras. It's very light sandy soil, very similar climate-wise to Pinar del Rio in Cuba, which is the best growing region in Cuba. And then it's a viso leaf, which is the middle part of the plant. Now, in a cigar, you're using all parts of the plant. The ligero's the top, the seco's the bottom, viso's the middle. We use visos for this because visos have more complexity than the ligeros and more strength than the secos below. Okay. So it's a good tobacco to kind of get the best of both worlds in terms of the flavor and experience.
Interesting. I would think the ligeros have more complexity, but those are just stronger, more like...
Yeah, they tend to be a little bit more linear because as you go up, it's kind of like a spicy food. You reach a level of spice and then it's not getting more complex. It's just heat. So the Viso in Nicaragua is special in that way, is that you have strength and complexity.
All right, let's light this bad boy up and see what it's all about.
Excellent, let's do it.
So, while Terence lights his, he was just telling us that they chose this Corojo 99. It is a quality over quantity product, which is great. Aganorsa is known for, very high quality stuff.
Thank you. We try.
So I've heard.
So also keep in mind that this is used as wrapper, binder, and filler in our cigars. Every Aganorsa cigar has some of this in it. It's a particular tobacco that will always be present in our blends.
Every single Aganorsa has this in it.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is kind of that distinct peppery kind of flavor you get in a lot of your cigars.
So you're gonna spice, especially through the nose if you retrohale, sweetness on the finish, and then you also will salivate on the sides of your mouth. So right in the sides of your mouth, it's almost like we call it a gusher. It just produces a lot of salivation. Some tobaccos dry your palate. This makes you salivate.
That's really important because there's nothing I hate more than smoking a cigar and it constantly dries out my mouth. Oh, my palate's already salivating. Yeah. That works. That's like magic.
Yeah, no, it's a really incredible flavor. We love it, and it's something that you'll find to some degree in all our blends. It could be a little bit, could be a lot, but it'll always be present.
Yeah. I really cannot stand cigars that are just, they dry your mouth out and you have to keep drinking something.
Yeah, that's not a pleasant experience. Yeah, so this adds that salivation, so it makes your mouth water, and that really, I think, is a pleasant characteristic.
All right. So the individual leaves, they don't just add flavor, they add experience as well.
Correct.
Yeah, that's nice and mild. The pepper's gone away a little bit, smoothed out. And yeah, I get that sweetness on the exhale.
And if for those at home that don't retrohale, if you want a quick tutorial, basically you just fill your mouth with smoke. Take your tongue, press it to the back of your top teeth, and just exhale through your nose like so.
You gotta kind of like push your tongue up like towards your nostrils, the back of your nostrils.
Yeah, it's almost like you're gonna, if you're on an airplane and you're gonna pop your ears, it's kind of like that. Yeah, and that gives you the ability. Now again, you don't have to do that, but blenders all do that. So if you want to experience the tobacco the way a blender would, retrohaling is something.
Yeah, that gives me a little bit of like a buttery kind of taste when I do that.
Yeah, it's going to increase the sensation.
Yeah. So, but a lot of smokers can't retrohale, so if you can't do it, don't worry about it.
There's no judgment. There's no judgment. Just like I said, it's good to have options.
It is, but it kind of sucks because the retrohale does like almost double the experience you're getting from a cigar. So if you can't, you're not getting the full experience. But again, the majority of smokers can't retrohale, or they don't because of.
And you should be able to enjoy a cigar without retrohaling. I mean, if you can enjoy it, that's probably a bad sign. But that said, it does, I think, accentuate the experience.
Yeah, and I've also at PCA I was talking to a couple people about retrohaling, and one guy told me he gets vertigo when he does it, and another guy told me he gets like sinus issues when he does it. So even if you can do it, it might not be right for you.
If you've never done it before, maybe try it once on each of the fumas just to get a sense of it. You don't want to overdo it. It's like that first time you're in Cancun and having pina coladas and they seem great, and the next thing you know, you were in the parking lot or something like that. You don't want to go too heavy if you've never done it before, but you will definitely have a different experience if you retrohale.
We need to talk about Cancun after this.
That's all I'll say.
All right.
So you get a sense of that, right?
Yes.
So let's set that down, but don't toss it because we're going to come back to it.
All right.
So the next one you want to grab is the Criollo 98. It says C98 on the little band. That's Criollo 98. It's a Viso as well, so middle part of the plant. So we've kept that consistent between the first two. And it's from Esteli. Esteli has dark, rich, volcanic soil.
Yeah. It's almost like a muddy, like super thick clay.
Yeah, it's like rock. I mean, it's like volcanic rock.
Yeah.
In fact, if it rains too heavily before we're going to plant, they can't plant. They have to wait because they can't till the soil. It'll break the plow. It's just so thick.
I've walked down a field after it rained and like my shoe got stuck in the mud and my foot came right out of my shoe.
It's totally different than a jalapa. Jalapa has that light sandy soil.
Loamy.
Yeah, it's totally different. You don't have to be an expert to look at the two soils and know which one is which. It's more quintessential Nicaraguan tobacco. Criollo 98 is a commonly grown Cuban seed, whereas Corojo 99 basically nobody grows. And then Esteli, as I said, really when you think of Nicaragua, you're thinking of Esteli. So this is going to be earthier. It's going to be grittier. When you put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you'll get salt.
Yeah. Just a note from the Corojo 99, like I have a very long peppery last on my tongue now.
Yeah, you certainly, it's almost like a tingle, on the tip of the tongue.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good description. My tongue is like tingling from that last Fuma.
So let's go on to this now.
All right, let's try this guy.
Again, this will be in all our cigars. Every Aganorsa cigar will have some of this in there as well.
So they all have the Criollo 98 and the Corojo 99.
Correct.
Every single cigar in your
Every single cigar. With totally different flavor and aroma. And when you light it up, check out the aroma. I mean, like I can tell these apart just by the smell.
Oh yeah, that is a nice smell. I've never done that before. I've never tried smelling the smoke.
Yeah. See, good thing I'm here. Now we use this as binder and filler. We don't use this as wrapper. You can't really grow wrapper in Esteli. It's too, it's a little bit too hot. The climate isn't conducive to wrapper quality leaf.
Yeah, you need something a little bit more mild, so you get that nice soft leaf that keeps the oils.
Yeah, you can't be, wrapper's difficult. You can't be too thick, it can't be too thin. It has to be just kind of like Goldilocks porridge, just right in order to be wrapper quality leaf. Jalapa, you can do that. Esteli, very difficult. So we don't grow any wrapper in Esteli, but binders and fillers. And by the way, the Corojo 99, Criollo 98, what does all that mean? So they're Cuban seed varietals that were developed in Cuba. And Cuban seed varietals are always named after the year they became commercially utilized. So in the 1970s, the original Cuban Corojo was basically wiped out. It had blue mold and they couldn't get rid of it, and it almost ruined Cuban tobacco. And so what they did is they started growing these variants that are disease resistant, for yield, for all sorts of qualities that they want to improve the tobacco on. And they're named for the year they came out. So there's Habano 92, Corojo 99, Criollo 98, Habano 2000, Corojo 2006, 2012, so on and so forth.
So like the farmers like experiment with it for like a few years or maybe even a decade, and then when it's like a good plant, that's when they're like, okay, that's this year. So
that's
like they started selling it to other companies this year, that would be the 24.
Yeah, in Cuba, it's basically it's named when it's first utilized in Cuba, and then like the seeds get out and we through various means, and they start being used in other countries, and then that's another process because just because it grows in Cuba doesn't mean it'll grow in Dominican Republic or Nicaragua or Honduras. So you have to grow a test crop to see if it's viable in where you're growing. Yeah, and so that's a long process. It takes years.
So you couldn't grow this in Jalapa.
Well, you could potentially grow it in Jalapa, but we don't. We only grow
because it might lack flavor or body.
This doesn't grow as well, or it's not. It's not as good. It really just depends on. You're always trying to get the best crop for what the climate gives you, and for us, we don't grow Criollo in Jalapa. We just grow in Esteli and Condega.
Interesting. So my very first impression on this is like it's a very soft, like it's putting out a lot more smoke, and it's like a very soft mouthfeel.
Yeah, so it's actually a little sneaky because it's actually a heavier tobacco, but it doesn't have the spice that the Corojo 99 has. So it's going to be a little bit misleading in that way because it's nice and soft on the palate. It's a rich smoke, but it's not spicy. And so a lot of times people associate spice with strength, and because of that, they'll say, "Oh, this is milder." It's not milder in terms of its actual strength. It's just smoother.
And the strength is like how much nicotine you're getting out of it.
Correct.
Yeah. So there you go. The difference between strength in body.
I always say, like, if I give you a Booker's bourbon that's neat, right? That's got alcohol in it, right? I mean, you're not fooled. It's right away, you taste it. But you could have a mixed drink with moonshine in it, with fruit punch that has it's 100, basically 100 proof or whatever it is. But you don't taste it because it's been hidden by whatever else you mix it with. So those are two different things. One, you drink and right away you've got alcohol. The other one, you don't taste, but that has nothing to do with how much alcohol is actually in there. And so it's kind of the same thing for the cigar. The spice is not indicative of the strength. It could be strong. It doesn't mean it is.
Okay, so this is strong but hidden by a soft flavor.
Correct.
Okay, very interesting.
Then you get that grittiness, like again, rub your tongue on the roof of your palate. There's like that salty note.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never rubbed my tongue on the top of my mouth to get flavor before. That's interesting.
See, another benefit. Stick with me.
Learning some stuff. I've done this a couple of times already, and I'm still learning.
We're learning every day. That's the great thing about tobacco.
So what flavors are you getting out of this one?
Again, much more earthy, much grittier. The salt on the roof of the palate, the soft mouthfeel. It's more down the middle of the palate rather than the first one is on the sides and towards the front. Mm-hmm. This is hitting you more down the middle.
Yep. All right.
So the next step, before we hit the third tobacco, is if you've ever seen a Cheech and Chong movie, we're gonna do something Cheech and Chong-ish. And before we do that, let me just explain that tobaccos are like people. By themselves, they can be wonderful, and you combine them, and it's a beautiful marriage, or the lawyers make a lot of money. And it's not because they're bad, just because they don't combine well.
Right.
Or not necessarily because they're bad. And so these two tobaccos, besides the fact that they have the individual components that they give, they have to combine well with each other. I like lobster, I like chocolate cake. I don't like chocolate cake with my lobster.
Yeah.
So you have to combine well. So the next step is you go back to your original Fuma, make sure they're both lit, and you put them together, and we're gonna have kind of like a Cheech and Chong style moment here. And it's gonna become more balanced, more complex, more nuanced, more like a cigar.
And try not to get ahead of this video because there's a method to Terence's madness. He's done hundreds of these events and he's got it down to a literal science.
Now feel how the whole mouth is being stimulated. Feel how the flavors, not only you taste the flavors of the individuals, but it's more complex, it's more balanced, it's more nuanced.
Very much so. Like I'm getting that super soft mouth feel with that tingle on the tongue at the same time.
Yeah, so in the whole palate is stimulated. You get the down the middle, you get the sides, you get the front, the back, and this is the backbone of Aganorsa. This is the base of what we build all our blends around. Aganorsa is kind of like a Scotch bar. You know, like there's lots of different types of Scotch. You might like some more than others. But if I have a bottle of Scotch, and I say, listen, would you like to try this? You know what you're getting into, even if you've never had it before. It's not going to taste like rum. It's not going to taste like gin. It's going to taste like Scotch. And so this is where everything is built around this flavor profile. But we have a special cigar today, which has something, an extra step.
Oh. Well, this has definitely changed. I'm getting that when we did the second Fuma, like it was starting to dry my mouth out. Now I'm getting that salivation again, which is like, it makes the experience a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, and again, like I always say is that like you might like more savory food or you might like sweeter food, but you don't like eating salt and sugar. You know, you like that element incorporated into your meal, right? And it's the same thing with these. Like I like the Corojo 99 personally more, the first one. But some people like the 98 more. Yeah. It's not about that. It's just finding what you like and combining it in a way that produces the greatest effect for that. So some of our blends are more dominated by one, some are more dominated by the other, but you always taste both and you'll taste that combination of the two.
All right. This has definitely changed it a lot. Like this almost feels like a complete cigar just with these two leaves.
Yeah, it's like oftentimes when we've done this at in-person events throughout the country, people will say, "Well, can I buy these?" And it's like, "Well, no, we're just sending these out for the event." But so actually, you've produced the pack where you can actually get these things. You know,
nice.
Get Fumas.
It's pretty much the first place anyone can really just get the Fumas directly. Right?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity
without going to one of these events.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on.
So let's put those down. But again, don't toss them. We're going to come back to them again. Usually that's where the experience ends because that's the two tobaccos that are in all our blends. But you guys have in this wonderful pack the Guardian of the Farm Cerberus. And Guardian of the Farm Cerberus utilizes a tobacco which we just recently started utilizing in the last couple of years called Corojo 2012. So the Cerberus has the 2012. Cerberus is the three-headed dog that guards Hades, and in Greek mythology, each of the heads stands for one of the tobacco. Corojo 99, Criollo 98, and this is the 2012. In the 2012, you say 2012, well that's 12 years ago. Well, again, the seeds come out of Cuba. You grow a test crop. The test crop takes years. You've got to grow it, you've got to cure it, ferment it, age it, make cigars with it, see if it plays with your other tobaccos that you have, see if it's viable to begin with.
And you're growing it in different regions
too.
And then doing all that processing and then testing them.
Correct.
Interesting.
And then if you have enough, or if it's viable, you have to grow enough to use it commercially. So then you start the whole process over. So it takes years for these seeds to be utilized before, by us before we can put it to market. Because they've used it in Cuba. Who knows if it'll work in Nicaragua? So,
right.
And where in Nicaragua? So this is a special tobacco. I don't know anyone currently growing it. There may be some, but we're growing it, and it is part of the Cerberus. It's the only cigar in our portfolio currently that utilizes this tobacco.
All right. So one thing in the cigar industry that a lot of consumers don't understand is the vast majority of cigar manufacturers do not grow their own tobacco. They buy it from companies like Aganorsa. Aganorsa is one of maybe 10 fully vertically integrated cigar companies that does everything from growing the cigar to processing it, or growing the tobacco to processing it to rolling it to boxing it.
Correct.
So very few companies do that.
From C dash, we control the whole process, and that allows us to really control the ultimate flavor of our cigars. That's why we have that signature flavor. That's an intentional process from what we grow, where we grow it, how we cure, how we ferment, how we age. All of that is under our control, and that allows us to say, this is our signature flavor.
Nice. So like some companies will buy the tobacco, process it themselves, and carry on from there. Other companies will buy the already processed tobacco, roll their cigars, and carry on from there. Some don't control any of it except for the marketing. Like there's so many varieties of the way all these manufacturers pretty much operate.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, everybody can make great cigars potentially, whether they're doing it themselves or somebody's making it for them. At the end of the day, it's all how the cigar smokes and if you enjoy it. And so what we're trying to do here is basically give you a little look into how blends are created and how you get to that final product, because that's what blenders are doing. They're sitting there and they're smoking these individual components to see how they can combine them to make new blends and keep blends consistent.
Well, let's keep combining.
So this one is going to be very leathery. Corojo 2012 has got a lot of leather to it. It's gonna kind of coat the palate, and its aroma is almost like a Perique tobacco. It's very aromatic.
Oh yeah, very. That's crazy, and that's just a different seed grown in the ground. Like,
yeah,
and it's so different.
Yeah, totally different flavor. Like, what's nice about this is nobody confuses the taste of this. No matter how experienced you are, if you've been smoking cigars for 20 years or just started recently, you smoke these three fumas, and you're not confused over which is which. They taste distinctive. This
one's very different. Do you guys age the fumas at all?
The fumas are aged in the sense of like they're tobacco that's been aged. So our guys in Nicaragua, our agronomists, they'll start smoking fumas from the time of fermentation on. That's not that fun because it's like you're putting your finger in the cake before it's done, or the turkey in the,
right, you're getting
the oven.
batter.
Yeah, you're not getting the way it should be. You're basically just testing it to see how far along in the process are we. What we're smoking is leaf that's totally been processed. It's been cured, it's been fermented, it's been aged, and we roll it up. Basically, it's very quick. It's an easy process. They just take a leaf, roll it up, put a little band on it, and say, here, smoke this. They don't do it with bands down in Nicaragua, but for the simplicity of the consumer.
So for the fumas, you grow the tobacco, you cure it, then it goes into the pilones.
Yeah, fermentation.
And then it goes into the bales to blend, and then it ages there for like a couple years.
Yeah.
And then that's what we're smoking.
Exactly. So you're getting something that's got years of age on it.
Yeah, this is my favorite one so far. It's very leathery. Yeah, I'm getting like, it's like when I played Little League Baseball and I was out in the outfield. I was a terrible player, so I always played right field. And I would just sit out there like I'd chew on the little tassel, and that's what this tastes like.
Right, yeah, that's right. Right field was right because lefties. It was only lefties
nobody hits the right field, so you put the worst player. But I was a good hitter, so like
the worst fielder goes to right field.
Yeah, that was me.
So again, though, what's important about this is how it combines with the other two, and that's really crucial because these are in all our cigars. Anything we incorporate into that has to combine with the Corojo 99 and the Criollo 98.
Yeah.
So the final step here is to take all three together, make sure they're all lit, which may just need a touch up real quick here.
Yep. So some tobaccos are placed purposely in the cigar to keep it burning, right? Like these are going out pretty quick.
Yeah, and again, remember these are rolled loosely. They're so the draw is easy. It's not a cigar. It's just a single component of leaf. And these are really not. I mean, we often do this, and people smoke them all the way down and actually want to even buy them, but they're not smoking the whole thing in Nicaragua. They're tasting it for maybe a couple minutes the way we are, and then they're saying, okay, I got the flavor of that the next one, because they're doing it all day long. They don't, the intention of it isn't to smoke the whole leaf. It's just to get a taste for it.
That's very interesting. Like earlier, the Criollo 98 is the salty one, right?
Yes.
I didn't get the salt then, but now I'm getting heavy salt.
Yeah, so that's a great example. Is that how you take a piece of watermelon, you put a little salt on it, and it accentuates the sweetness. So some of the characteristics stick out more once you combine them. Others become more subtle, and that can be good or bad depending on what you're looking for. So if you like that, for instance, the Corojo 99, the spice on that, if it's more dominant Corojo 99, you're going to get more spice. But if you want to, a little less of that, you combine it with other things that bring that down. If you like that 98 salt, there's things you can combine it with to accentuate it. There's things that you can combine it to diminish it. And so you're creating different expressions of tobacco with characteristics that are all there, but just how you change the proportions of them.
Okay. So this would be binder and filler, right? It's pretty much all these tobaccos would only be used for binder and filler.
No, so the 99 is wrapper as well, and the 2012 is wrapper. Actually, the wrapper on the Cerberus is 2012.
Oh, okay. That's probably why I like this cigar so much, because it has that like nice leathery wrapper with some leathery filler.
Yeah, it's again, and what's fun about this is that's how you learn about your palate. Why do you like something? Well, I like 2012, and the cigar has 2012, and it just gives you an opportunity to really understand the reasons behind your preferences.
Well, I'm definitely again, I've done this a couple of times already, and I'm still it's just still expanding my knowledge. It would behoove you to get a few of these packs and try this a few times.
Yeah, and again, it's great to get with people and do it as a group. You have a bunch of friends that like to smoke cigars and want to learn more and want to develop their palate. You've got 5 or 6 buddies, get 5 or 6 packs and spread them all out, get together, and have a great time and learn something about tobacco. It's really a great opportunity to learn. But the key thing is here, we've kind of gone from single notes on the piano to chopsticks to Mozart, right?
Yeah.
So we've evolved here in terms of the complexity. The cigar itself is where it all comes together. So when you light this up, you're gonna start noticing all the flavors that you tasted in the fumas, but it's gonna be a little bit more subtle. But because we've isolated them, they're gonna stick out more for you. So it's kind of like, we've all listened to music our whole lives, right? I don't know what B flat sounds like, but if somebody hammers B flat on the piano over and over and over again, I start hearing it in the symphony. And so that's gonna be the coolest part of this. Even if you've had this cigar before by chance, it's gonna be a whole new experience after doing the fumas.
Yes. Actually, confession time, my first time smoking the cigar, I wasn't that big of a fan, but now it's becoming one of my favorite cigars that I have at home after doing this a few times. That is a loud lighter. Yeah, that's totally different than the 3 fumas.
Yeah, and again, it's like if I said, okay, here's some butter, here's some salt, here's some sugar, all those things could be in a recipe.
Yeah.
But the actual end product is greater than the sum of its parts, right?
Right. If I take a pat of butter and I put sugar and salt on there, that's gonna be gross.
Yeah, and it's not the same thing as a cake, right?
Yeah.
The cake is greater than the sum of its parts.
Right. A lot of processing, a lot of different, yes.
Yeah, it's a whole different experience, and this is basically a way to show how the cake is made. It's like I said, some people smoke these and go, man, I could smoke the 99 or the 98 or 2012. I could just smoke this. Other people, they go, yeah, I get the taste, but it's not something I'd want to smoke. But then they start combining them and they say, oh, okay, now I get it. It's really meant to show you how you get from seed to ash.
So, a little trick that I learned, and I think I taught this to Terence. If you just put the cigar to your lips and you puff it, you're not gonna get the full flavor of the cigar. So you wanna bring it to your teeth, bring it a little bit deeper into your mouth, and then puff. And you'll get more flavor out of your cigar.
That's true, you did teach me that. Now you see how those flavors are all kind of interacting there? Again, you get other experience as well, and they're a little bit more subtle. You might not even pick up on them had we not done this. But now that we've isolated those flavors, they're showing up in the blend.
Yes. So I'm noticing a lot of leather. There's a very leathery
2012,
cigar.
yep, absolutely.
But I'm also noticing my palate salivating even more now than when we just smoked the one Fuma. So do you have multiple of those leaves in this cigar?
Absolutely. So a cigar,
I got a waterfall going on now.
Yeah, as I kind of was using the comparison, this is Mozart, that's chopsticks. So you've got different primings, you've got Viso Seco Ligero, you've got different farms of those 3 tobaccos, but a greater diversity of them. And so you're going to get other nuances and other experiences and accentuate some things that were less accentuated in the individual Fuma. So that's part of the fun, is that, okay, this is the backbone, just like Scotch. I mean, you can have like the basics of Scotch, you know, and then you have a peated Scotch, a non-peated Scotch, a sherry cask, an oak cask, and then you're always getting some continuity with through all that, but you're also tasting other things, obviously.
Yeah. I'm getting your music reference, because this is like the full concerto. Like, I'm getting a lot of the leather. I'm getting a lot more salt. The smoke is more pillowy. I'm getting that tongue tingle. Like, it's all coming together.
Yeah, and that's the idea, is that you have to have all the tobaccos get along. They have to all combine for that ultimate experience. Yeah. And you can have good tobaccos that are great for some blend, but not be good for another. And so that's really the art of this, is finding how the tobaccos will combine to create the best, most pleasurable experience for you, the consumer.
Yeah, actually, before I ever did the Fuma experience, I never tasted salt in cigars, and now afterwards I taste it in a lot of different cigars.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times, you know, you taste something, and then somebody says, oh, like this is oregano, and you try oregano, or thyme, or whatever it is, and then you're like, oh yeah, I've always recognized that, I just didn't know what it was, or I never really thought about it, or I didn't, you know, and so it's just a way to get people to learn more about what creates the flavors that they like and don't like.
Let me ask you a question. Have you guys ever grown a leaf and it was like delicious as a Fuma, but just didn't get along with any of the blends you tried putting it in?
Yeah, there's things that they've tried to grow that haven't really worked out, or we might grow but we don't use ourselves. You know, there's like Corojo 2006. We tried that out. Didn't really work too well. We don't use it in any of our blends. I think we still sell some of it, but it doesn't work well for us. Yeah. You know, and again, it can work well for other people. A lot of it's subjective. If you do all the processes right, it should be likable to somebody, right? It's kind of like, you know, again, go back to Scotch. You know, if you don't like peat's not going to, you know, make the Scotch better for you in any way. Even if it's a great peated Scotch, it's not for you. If you like peat, it's going to improve the Scotch. You know, Lafroig is going to be a great one to have.
So this is, I'm getting a lot of that salt. Like when I lick my lips, I'm getting that salt too. Tasting the earthiness, getting a lot of that leather goodness. Like it's a very good cigar.
Yeah, just it's balanced, it's complex. I'd say it's a medium bodied. You know, that's always subjective to how people, you know, their experience level and what they like. But for me, this is just medium bodied. I could have it earlier in the day. I could have it later in the day. It's good after a meal. It's good if you know you haven't eaten too much in the day. It's not going to overwhelm you. To me, this is a great cigar for just about anybody to get a lot of flavor and complexity without being overwhelmed.
Yeah, I like, when it comes to body, I like to start with something I know is light. If I'm gonna smoke multiple cigars in a day, I like to start with the light one and then work my way up to heavier ones. Because if I smoke a heavy cigar and then a lighter cigar, I like taste nothing in that lighter cigar. It's almost like air.
Yeah, because you're going kind of backwards in the process. So that's what I like about this is I could have this at the end of the day after a meal, after a couple cigars, and I'm still gonna get a lot out of it. I can have this, you know, earlier in the day. Before, you know, first cigar of the day, and it's still not gonna overwhelm me or anything like that. It's gonna give me a lot of flavor and complexity. So it's nice to have those cigars that you can always reach to and say, you know, I'm not sure what I want right now. This one is any time of day cigar.
Yeah. So I just retrohaled this, and I'm not great at retrohaling. I can only get a little bit, but I get like a very peppery sensation in my nostrils, and then I get a very smooth, buttery taste everywhere.
Yeah, it's almost like a toasted butter. Yeah, you get that initial kind of wakes up the palate almost with that spice, and then you just get that nice buttery, toasty.
I get that
cream.
a lot out of a lot of cigars when I retrohale. Like, I'll all of a sudden get this like very nice butter flavor.
Well, a lot of people buy our tobacco too.
That's true. Actually, I'm learning more and more. A lot of people buy your tobacco.
Yeah, actually, that's the biggest part of the business is the selling tobacco. So there's all sorts of great companies out there that buy from us, and that our leaf is our strength, as we say. You know,
that's the story behind the.
Yeah,
there's the strength. I like it. Does that have a little bit to do with your majoring in history and Greek mythology, kind of?
Well, again, I try to use that. It's not useful, generally speaking, so I try to incorporate it wherever I can. So you know, Cerberus from Greek mythology, it's always nice.
Well, this is also like a more advanced version of your regular guarding on the farm, right?
Yeah, so Guarding the Farm is named after the American Bulldogs we use to guard our fields and factories in Nicaragua. And that started off as a collaboration with Warp Cigars. And then we've expanded on it to other lines. And so the dog canine theme continues with Cerberus.
And then you put like a heavier flavored wrapper on this one, so it's the Cerberus. It's also a guard dog, but for the gates of hell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to be, it can't be a mild cigar when you're guarding the gates of hell.
It's a lot of thought behind.
Well, you got to have an experience, a presentation that is going to give a sense of the experience.
Right. So yeah, with a lot of some cigars are nothing but marketing. They're terrible, but they have great marketing. Some cigars are great but have no marketing, and then some cigars are great with great marketing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you ultimately want the product to stand for itself, but you've got to let people know what the product is supposed to be, and people see with their eyes, and so you have to kind of give them visual cues that will say this is going to be this type of experience, and then live up to that experience.
Yeah, and there's so many options out there. It's just hard to know what's good. It's hard to find everything out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's good to do things like this. You learn more about your palate. It's less guesswork. You start learning more what you like, so that when you pick something out of the humidor, you're more likely to enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I am enjoying this very much. Thank you so much for doing this with us, Terence.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, and thank everybody out there that's partaking in this. We love to support our partners such as yourself and to provide a great value to our consumers.
I appreciate it. You guys can find Terence. He has the Aganorsa Acolytes Facebook group. He's on there all the time. He's really good about it. Aganorsa on pretty much all social media.
Yeah, Aganorsa Acolytes, as you just said, great group, thousands of members. We do all sorts of stuff, keep informed, be part of our community. We want people to feel that they're part of the Aganorsa family. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can check out Aganorsa Leaf, great videos and
great videos on YouTube.
And opportunities to learn more.
Excellent. Well, Terence, thank you for bringing this experience to people's living rooms for the first time.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure's mine.